What is up, people? Welcome back to the channel. It is so good to have you back here for another tutorial video. Today we are looking at one of the hottest artists out at the moment. He's recently collabed with guys like Skrillex and Future and Swedish House Mafia. Now of course you guys know exactly who this is. I mean, you clicked on the video, his name's in the title. That man is none other than Fred again. So yeah, Fred again has been absolutely dominating the EDM scene lately. I'm sure you've seen numerous clips of him just absolutely killing shows. So Fred again has this unique sort of house style. He uses a lot of samples and they always come out super vibey and super fun to listen to. So for this tutorial video, we're trying to make music like Fred again. So like always, I don't want to waste your time. We're just gonna get right into the video. Let's make some music like Fred again. Alright, so we're into it. We've got FL Studio here in front of us. First things first, we want to suss out the tempo. Now, of course, Fred again sort of has that house type style. So we're going to set our tempo around that sort of range. We're going for a 134 here. You'll find that a lot of his tracks sort of are around that 134. Right, to get the song started, we are going to start off with some drums. So I'm just going to play this whole drum loop here. I'm going to actually break down the drum loop in the drop section because that's when it is most important. But we just sort of want to set that vibe with the drums right now. And for this intro section, I am going to eventually fade them out. So you'll see an EQ filter here down here. That is just cutting out the high end. So it sort of brings the drums out of the mix and sort of tones it back a little. Alright, so we started out with the drums and that is one important part of this sort of intro section. The second very important part is creating the vibe. We want to create that unique vibe for this specific Fred Again track. So number one here in our vibe layers, if you want to call it that, is the acapella. So this is going to be the core piece of the track. Going to set the tone for the whole track essentially.
It's you, baby. My love for you is so crazy. I needed someone who saved me, and you came for me, you came.
So it's sort of like a housey type vocal, sort of something you'd hear in a house track, a Fred Again track maybe. And I'm just going to put a little bass line under that, and that is going to progress the chords. It's going to be our chord progression.
It's you, baby. My love for you is so crazy. I needed someone who saved me, and you came for me, you came. Take it easy. You always know how to treat it. You got all of me completely. It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming.
The bass is a super simple low pass saw wave, bit of chorus, bit of distortion on there. Our third layer is going to be this pad. Now this is just a Serum pad preset, and as you can see, it's playing a nice little chord progression. It sounds like this. And you know me, it wouldn't be a Savage tutorial without adding a couple of atmospheres in there.
How to treat it. You got all of me completely. It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming.
Alright, so we've already sorted the elements we need for this intro section. We've got the drums and we've got the vibey layers. Now it's all about constructing this intro section into an actual intro section that you hear in an actual song. So as you can see, with all this arrangement here, we've got the drums starting the track. Now the drums are just coming in on their own. Alright, now as we look down here in sort of our vibey area, we have a number of filters. So of course, this filter here is filtering the drums out. This filter here is actually filtering in the vocal. So that's just a low pass filter on there.
It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming. It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming.
And as you can hear from that vocal snippet, I've just cut a singular part of that a cappella and I've stretched it out so it's a bit more stretched out, sort of teasing the start of the a cappella, just creating a nice little intro as it fades in there. What I'm doing with the rest of the vibey elements is I'm actually filtering them in with a high pass filter. So a high pass filter looks like that. It is cutting all the low end off. So we start with all the high end in there and sort of bring in that low end. Right, an extra part of this intro section, which is extremely important, is the fading in of this vocal from the drop section. So this is the classic Fred Again sort of vocal chop that you hear in a lot of his tracks. Right now, we're just sort of teasing it, we're filtering it in sort of the theme of the song. So we want to keep it far in the background. Again, like the drums, I'm going to go into greater detail with this in the drop section. So if you want to check out that now and don't really care about this intro, go straight to the drop section. That's where all the magic is. Alright, so that's our intro section done. We're well on our way to a Fred Again track. Alright, moving on to a bit of a verse section here. We're essentially just cutting out all the drums and this little bass line and keeping the pad, the vocal, and the little atmospheres. Just chill out and just sort of vibe for a while.
It's you, baby. My love for you is so crazy. I needed someone who saved me, and you came for me, you came.
And then the second half of this sort of verse section, we just bring back the bass and then we just bring back the drums without the kick.
It's you, baby. My love for you is so crazy.
Alright, since this is a sort of super vibey sort of house track, we don't actually need a super heavy build-up section. You'll notice in a lot of Fred Again's tracks that there's not really even a build-up section at all. It just sort of builds and then has the drop. And the drops are vibey, so it's not really hard-hitting anyway. So all we really have in this build-up section that is different to the verse is some rises coming in here. And then of course we just have our vocal from the drop filtering in, teasing the drop. And then last but not least, a cool little sample that Fred Again has used in his songs. I have no idea who it is that is saying this, but it sounds cool.
Play that shit, Fred.
We've essentially made our intro and build up section, so let's make a Fred Again drop. Alright, first things first with this drop, let's break down the drums. So obviously this is sort of a house style, except the beat isn't a traditional house beat. So I'm going to turn the kicks off here and we're just going to look at the top end elements. So of course we have our snare, then we've got our elf hat as every house beat does. And then we've just got a collection of other high end elements. We've got percussion loops, we've got shakers, we've got other hi-hats in there as well. So of course that sounds very housey. You can just imagine a 4 on the floor kick beat on top of that. But what Fred Again does differently is he spices up the kicks. He makes a really cool, unique sort of beat, and that really elevates the vibey drop that he likes to create. Alright, so moving on to the drop bass, it's actually super simple again. We've just got 2 layers. Now the first layer of this bass is this preset called Bass Sub Dirt. It's just a gritty sub sound. And the second layer is this wavy sine wave sort of sub bass. It's got some chorus on it, it's got some distortion. Sounds super cool. So that drop bass isn't too aggressive, it's sort of just a nice warm fuzzy sub, you know, just to fill those low end frequencies. It's just beautiful. All right, the major part of this drop section is the vocal chops. So this style of vocal chop will be super familiar to you guys that are fans of Fred Again. I've heard it in numerous songs, and it's just a nice stuttery sort of spliced up vocal. So obviously I've bounced those vocal chops out to audio. Essentially this is where the vocal chops came from. It's just this one shot sample. I just found it on Splice. It sounds like this. And then I just went and spliced that up into little pieces, basically just pieces of the puzzle, and it makes this sound. There's really no other way to put it. So you'll notice that that isn't as high pitched as the one that I'm using in my drop. That's because I first bounced it out to audio, which we can see here. And then we did the little pitching trick that I like to do. I wanted to go up a whole octave. If I just pitch it up like this, it sounds like this. So it's quite harsh and quite chipmunky. The better way of pitching up things sometimes is to actually use this method. So go edit sample. This will bring up the sample in Edison. And then what you want to do is hit Alt T, and that will bring up this time stretcher pitcher. And then of course you want to pitch it up. So we're going to go up 12 semitones. And then we're going to hit copy from pitch. And this is going to keep the same formants and basically the same sort of core sound of the original, but putting it up an octave. So what you come out with is this. And that, in my opinion, sounds a lot better than the first one. This one isn't chipmunking as much. It's simply gone up an octave. It sounds like someone's singing it an octave higher with the same voice without being freaking Alvin and the Chipmunks. So on the post-processing side of this vocal slice, we've got some chorus for a bit of width. We've got some Camel Crusher for a bit of grit and distortion. We've got some OTT, of course, for compression. And then another cool trick that I think Fred again uses quite a bit is the sort of side to side pan. The vocal is actually moving left to right to left. Just sort of feels like it's floating in the air. It's a cool little effect. Then of course we have some delay and some reverb to make it super vibey and super sort of floaty through space. So that is essentially the big elements for this part of the drop. Of course we kept our atmospheres in there just for a bit of support in the melodics area, just keep the mix nice and full, and then we just have some exhausts in there as well. Alright, for the second half of this drop, not much changes actually. I just add back the pad from the intro for, again, a little bit more melodic weight to the mix. And then I just have this drop piano, which is super simple, just playing the same chords as the pad, except in a sort of dance piano type style. Alright guys, so that is essentially everything we need to make a track in the style of Fred Again. As always, let me know how you think I went with this one. Did I nail it? Did I completely miss? Let me know in the comments. It helps me out a lot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I sort of captured the essence of Fred Again. I'm sure he is going to be absolutely killing it in the EDM game for a long time. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you for the next tutorial video. Truly, it's been an honor to capture your attention for however long I captured your attention. But anyway, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. You want to see the Fred Again result, so I'm going to play it for you. Have a good one.
You always know how to treat her. You got all of me completely. It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming. It's you, baby. My love for you is so crazy. I needed someone to save me, and you came for me, you came. Take it easy. You always know how to treat her. You got all of me completely. It's so good, feel like I'm dreaming. 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 I feel like I'm